Hey everybody, sorry about that delay. I'm Dawn Zoldi, CEO of P3 Tech Consulting and now publisher at Autonomy Global. Super excited to bring you this Law Tech Connect preview of panels 1 to 4. I just wanted to tell you all a little bit about the event, which by the way is our 4th annual and is going to take place in Houston, Texas, co-located with AUVSI's Exponential on Monday, May 19th. Of this year at the George R. Brown Convention Center. We hope you're going to join us, and once you hear a little bit more about it, you'll be inspired to go ahead and register today with that early bird registration price that, by the way, includes a free 3-day Expo Hall pass, access to our happy hour on Sunday night, and an amazing day with the folks you're going to see here and others. We feed you and give you incredible swag. So what more can I say? But let me just tell you a little bit about the origin story for Law Tech Connect. Before I even created my company, I was in the Air Force and I was doing a lot of speaking. And one of the things I started doing was organizing conferences with tech expos and bringing lawyers to those conferences. Because what I found in the legal events I'd go to, and then conversely in the tech events I'd go to, is it was almost like never the twain shall meet, where lawyers were talking about law and policy in their own rooms and their own events, and then the tech folks were all talking about their technologies without really the lawyers and the policymakers at the table or on the stage. And I thought, man, we need to bring these groups together. And hence Law Tech Connect was born, and really, honestly, was a big reason why I even created my company. Our very first one we held in Orlando with Exponential, and every year since it's grown and grown and grown, and just so glad to have these folks here with us to talk a little bit about what you can expect this year. It's an all-day event. We have 8 panels, and again, today we're going to focus on panels 1 to 4. I do have some fun images I want to pop up. The one I think we'll put up now is this picture that you're going to see really, I think, fairly embraces the spirit of the event. At the beginning of every event, I tell everybody to stand up and just start shaking hands and meeting each other. It's all about connections. That's why it's called Law Tech Connect, not just because we're connecting the law and technology, but also because we're connecting everybody together. And that's what I really love about it. So yeah, so there's that. And then I did mention the networking event, and I want to kind of pop up a picture, if we can, of that as well. It's a great way to kick off the event and get to know people before we even start the workshop on Monday. And everybody, by the way, is welcome to join us, not just those who register, but for those who register, we're going to be able to give you some free beverages and bites, thanks to our very kind sponsors this year, which include the Northern Plains UAS Test Site, the African Drone Forum, and the Energy Drone and Robotics Coalition. We've got 2 of those 3 folks here on the net with us. So without further ado, let's go ahead and go around the horn and introduce everybody. And before we do that, I do want to say one caveat. Chris Senn from Holland and Knight might be joining us later. He was supposed to be here. He got tied up in a very important meeting. So we're hoping he'll be able to pop in a little bit later. But if he can't, then we'll rock on. If he can, great. So let's go ahead and get started. Sean, I'm going to go ahead and start with you. If you could just go ahead and introduce yourself.
Howdy, certainly everyone. Really enjoy being here today. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Energy Drone and Robotics Coalition, which I'm the director of, is a global community of about 20,000 professionals, which represent all the key stakeholders in that area, which would be the asset owner operators, the service solution providers, and we bring them together to share best practices, tips, tech, and certainly use cases. And we do that through all of our different channels. And I've been fortunate to be the director of that for the last 10 years. And each year we hold one large annual summit in June here in Houston. And glad to be on the panel with y'all today to discuss Law Tech Connect.
Woohoo! And of course, no shock, Sean is going to lead our energy panel. We'll talk about that here momentarily. And we, as fate would have it, we have a North Dakota contingent with us here today. So I'm going to go to Erin Roesler first, and then we'll end with Tom. So Erin, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so Erin Roesler, I'm the Deputy Exec Director for the Northern Plains UAS test site, one of those 7 federal test sites located here in North Dakota. And then also lead and champion the Vantis program, which is the state of North Dakota's UAS Beyond Visual Line Sight infrastructure initiative. But all of it falls into the caveat of, North Dakota through the test site, through the Vantis program, are continuing to try to seize economic opportunities for the state of North Dakota, as well as drive innovation at the federal level by integrating drones with the NAS. So small task, but we fight every day to keep moving the needle forward.
Well, you said a lot of words in there, Erin, that actually are relevant to Tom as well. Federal work, North Dakota. Tom, over to you. I'd love for you to introduce yourself to everybody.
Sure. Thank you very much for inviting me, Don. My name is Tom Swoyer. I'm the president and founder of GrandSKY. We are a UAS flight operations center that brings together the best of military and government flight operations on Grand Forks Air Force Base in Grand Forks, North Dakota.
All right. Well, who better to kick off this discussion and panel 1 for the actual event? It's called Let's Make a Deal, the rules for landing government autonomy contracts. And we'll go ahead and pop up that image of this panel. You can see Tom is in great company here with so many folks that are going to be on this panel. And it's a privilege, Tom, of course, to have you here. By the way, everybody, Tom and GrandSKY are our bronze sponsors this year, so we really appreciate that. And we're going to go ahead and talk about this panel a little bit. We'll go ahead and pop that image back down. Tom, you've been super successful at GrandSKY in landing government contracts. Project Ultra is a perfect example. By the way, everybody, and yet another shameless plug, join Tom and Chris Hewlett tomorrow on the Dawn of Autonomy. We're going to be talking a lot more deeply about all of this. But we're super excited to have you on this panel at Law Tech Connect this year, so other people can learn from your experience about this space, because we all know there's a lot of uncertainty, I think, in the industry right now, and people look at the federal government, or they look at DoD as a good place to find potential lucrative deals. So Tom, tell us a little bit about why you think it's so important for people to understand the different award vehicles out there and how they can navigate the bureaucratic process.
Sure. Don, I think the first and foremost, one of the reasons to be looking at federal contracts, and while we tend to specialize more in Department of Defense contracts, the federal government as a whole has a lot of different contracts from a lot of different organizations. It's important because, candidly, that's where the money is. If you have a new technology, we're an old technology. If you have an aircraft, you have a payload, you have a software system, regardless of what it is you have, someone in the government is most likely interested in demonstrating it, seeing if it fits their needs. The government is aggressively buying and soliciting these kinds of services, but the methodology is changing quite a bit lately. But there's really, the reason to do it is because that's where the money is.
Yeah, 100%. And, I'll go out on a limb and say, Tom, even some of the processes maybe you were involved in the past year are going to change with this new administration. We're already seeing, rules being peeled back, different agencies kind of scaling back. So it's going to be a really interesting time. And I think having lawyers on this panel to explain some of the policy memos that have already come out is going to be awesome. But this is your very first time, Tom, being involved in Law Tech Connect. What do you hope to gain from your involvement?
Well, as with most things, Law Tech Connect, we're really interested in meeting people. We're interested in connecting with folks that are curious If we can be helpful in some ways, helping companies deploy a technology or deploy a capability, we absolutely want to be helpful in that regard. We are also investors in technology and capabilities, whether it's by providing support to them or actually making monetary investments. We're very interested in different technologies that are going to help GrandSKY and its customers deploy their systems and help integrate the airspace.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about what other people can expect, particularly from your panel. If you could walk us through a little bit, I know you and I have talked about the script and kind of what people are going to contribute. Maybe let's start with some of the folks that are going to be on your panel, some of the other notable panelists for panel 1.
Yeah. So as we build out the panel and work through all this, we hope to bring some folks that are going to talk about applicable laws and regulations and different rules and processes and different contract types, to be able to give folks a sense of exactly how this can work. From our experience, we're also going to talk about what the ways to make the system work for you might be. So, for example, at GrandSKY, we actually have very, very few prime contracts where we are the prime contractor. In most cases, there's an intermediary prime contractor. For our work with the Test Resource Management Center, our work on Ultra, though we take the day-to-day lead, we still work through different contract vehicles that others have won. And I think we'll have a good conversation about understanding the larger contract vehicles, the more the broad agency announcement type vehicles, and the indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity type contracts, and as opposed to SBIRs and STTRs and those types of contracts that are very specific and focused. We have tended to focus on and build capability around much larger contracts that have a more wide open scope of work.
That's awesome. And if you're listening, by the way, like Garrick Christian out there who's saying, hello team, let's go. And Tom, it's great to see you. And if you're out there listening and you don't know what a SIVR or SITR is, this is 100% why you need to be coming to this event. I will give you a spoiler alert. Those are acronyms for the Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer Awards. We'll be talking about those, as Tom alluded to. We'll be talking about NASA's contract. It's called SEWP, S-E-W-P, Solutions for Enterprise-Wide Procurement. Well, again, if you haven't heard of it, you kind of need to if you're in this space. Omnia Partners, that's a state level one. So we're going to be hitting not just the federal area, but also the state. And I'm really excited. Besides Tom, of course, we've got Lauren Regiek from Carasoft. They dwell 100% in government contracts. So you'll hear their perspective. You're going to hear from lawyers. You're going to hear from AVSI's rep, Casey Ocaña. She's going to talk about the Green UAS program and how it ties into the Blue program and kind of what's going on there in the DoD, and some awesome industry reps too. Michael Bauer from ESI is going to moderate. Lori DeMatteis from Matrix Space, who's done a great job landing some contracts for her company. And then Eric Ransom is our attorney rep from Crowell Mooring, to talk all about this. So, Tom, I'm going to go ahead and divert over to Sean here in a second. But before I do, I'm going to kind of give you that opportunity to, sum up, what you're so excited about with regard to this event.
I'm really excited to be able to talk about the some of the nuts and bolts of the contracting process, and share some of our experience and lessons learned. Because it's not just finding that customer organization, you also have to have that contract vehicle that customer organization can utilize, but you also have to have the internal processes from an accounting, bonding, insurance, and legal framework to be able to deliver those services. And that's the capability we've built over the last 2 years to be able to assist companies like ours. And we rent this out, but I'm really excited to be able to talk about the nuts and bolts of day to day, what it takes to actually manage those contracts, not just get them.
Oh, this is great. And so for those listening in, you can see exactly why I have this event. This isn't your standard, panel where you sit and listen, about theoretical concepts. This is, no kidding, nuts and bolts, how to get it done. And Tom is such a great rep to have on this panel. So Tom, thank you so much. Really appreciate you. Looking forward to seeing you in Houston and hearing those insights. We're going to go head over to Sean. Sean, Houston is your backyard, Petro Metro, as you call it. I love that. Everybody, Sean's panel is called Big Energy, the virtuous circle of compliance and autonomy in the energy sector. As I said, Sean and his team are also sponsoring that networking event on the night before, so you'll see him there. If we could pop up that image of Sean's panel, you'll get an idea here as you look at this of the amazing folks that we've gathered. We've got actual energy companies like Suncor. We've got API, the American Petroleum Institute rep, and of course Mark McKinnon is a partner, and Emily Mallon is a partner at their respective law firms, and Richard is with Volatus. He is a practitioner in this space. So a great, well-rounded panel. Sean, I'm going to go ahead and we'll go ahead and take that image down. We're going to go back to you. You've attended AUVSI Exponential in the past, but this is your first year in support of our Law Tech Connect at that event as a sponsor and on faculty. So what are you hoping to see at our event, Sean?
Well, we're really excited about the aspect of bringing together the compliance and the regulatory side of energy, which is so multi-layered, because we obviously cover areas that everything as diverse as solar and renewables, all the way to offshore drilling, onshore operations, all the way through refining, petrochemical. There's so many different regulatory bodies that are dealing with that in compliance. And so much of what we deal with in Energy Drone and Robotics Coalition is more the tactical. And we don't often, get to do deep dives into the regulatory and compliance side. So I'm really excited about Law Tech Connect coming to Houston, first of all, and being able to work with this wonderful panel to explore some of the areas where regulatory and compliance, we're just scratching the surface, honestly, in this panel of how much that there is going on and how autonomy is being brought forth with drones and robotics to help on these different areas.
By the way, everybody, Sean contributed with Megan Horn an amazing article to Autonomy Global in the last couple weeks about basically rounding up the 5 best and most popular articles on his site, Energy Drone Robotics Coalition Network. And, as I read through those, Sean, it occurs to me that the energy sector, they were maybe reticent adopters of advanced technologies, but now they've really jumped in with both feet over the past couple of years. I know you've got some great examples on your site. Can you explain the importance of the topic of compliance plus uncrewed vehicles to companies, people that have their own businesses? They're seeking to do business in the energy sector. Why is this nexus so important for them?
Sure. So let's start with the first aspect, which is certainly we like to use the word cautious. The energy industry is cautious about their adoption of new technology. And I think that really relates back to, if you think about all these different types, it's a backbone of a huge infrastructure. And this critical infrastructure, can be dangerous, and is so important and vital. When you look at the US grid, let's say for transmission distribution, or you look at fuel refining. So they've been cautious, but they have been very ambitious about trying different case studies, field trials, partnering with different organizations. And that focus leads to the second part, which is, once again, it's a heavily regulated industry. So whether you're with our friends up there in North Dakota in the Bakken, or whether you're down here in the Permian, or you're offshore in the Gulf of something, you basically.
I'm not sure what it is, Sean. We'll just leave it blank at this point.
Exactly. It's the Gulf. So we just say the Gulf. And so if they're in the Gulf, we have all these different aspects. All of them have different regulatory bodies. So compliance, if you think about it, is a huge area for these companies to look at deploying drones and robotics in order to fulfill what they need on a local, state, or federal level around compliance. And so that's why you see so many of the initial field trials and use cases were for those purposes, which are now expanding a little bit more into predictive maintenance, which is where a lot of the inspections are related to. And we're even going to touch on that a little bit in the panel, where we're going to get into with some of the service operator. Richard's going to talk a little bit on digital twins and how we're able to take the same data that's being collected for compliance for a local, state, or federal body, and then use that data to create digital twins, which other stakeholders in the energy company, the asset owner operator, can then use potentially for things like predictive maintenance. When do you need to do certain things in order to ensure that you don't have as many emissions or leaks and things like that, and can keep your asset running? So uptime. So you're seeing that basically compliance leads to other areas, all of which can be managed in a lot of times with drones and robotics, giving you quality data.
No, it's always about the data, isn't it, Sean? And I'll tell you, there's no better time than May to have this event as we see new policies roll out. We may see some compliance requirements potentially even roll back. But that might just be at the federal level, because states, for example, I'm in Colorado, they have their own rules, as you alluded to, and some are stricter than others. And understanding that legal landscape and that policy environment is so important to understand, okay, where are we going to employ these assets? And so I'm really excited to hear this panel and learn from people like Genevieve at Suncor, who I met in Ottawa back in November. She, by the way, they have a big presence here in Colorado in addition to Canada. And really started up their very interesting hybrid program where they're outsourcing to drone service providers for some efforts, but they have their own in-house programs. And we're going to talk about all these things. So that's a great segue, Sean, to give us a little bit of a teaser as to what we can expect from your panel.
Sure. So we're definitely going to be talking about beyond something like I said, digital twins. The first part to what you're saying, Don, is certainly Colorado, New Mexico, California, all have fairly stringent and growing demands around methane and methane emissions detection, quantification, and eventually mitigation in order to stop leaks. And so we're definitely seeing on a state level and currently on a federal level, we're on a trajectory to where that is going to be a huge area that autonomous technology like drones and robotics are going to be able to help in all of those capacities. And there's been dozens and dozens of use cases and group trials together run by different states and different academia and different types of consortiums. And we're going to be talking about that, from both the legal perspective where we are today, because these are carrying some, pretty hefty fines. And you're looking at, serious dollars that are really potentially mitigated on top of the environmental benefits that would allow. So I think methane's going to be a big area we're certainly going to be covering. We're also going to talk about the diverse regulatory challenges, that there are changes with the state level versus local versus federal, and depending on the type of energy asset that you're operating, you're going to have a different set of compliance and regulatory. So we're going to be expanding on that, and I think that's going to be very helpful. And then last but definitely not least, Suzanne Lemieux with the American Petroleum Institute. She's going to unpack for us several really top use cases that where we're seeing around compliance being utilized with drones and robotics that have been very successful in the energy market. So this is a very real world. This is definitely not a panel that's discussing what ifs and possibilities. These are things that are impacting the industry and showcasing to all the stakeholders, asset owner operators, service companies, solution providers, how they can get involved and why it's important for them to keep this top of mind as they're building out their 2025 projects and programs.
That is awesome. Everybody, by the way, we're having some technical issues, so I'm kind of on, my phone too. So I apologize for that. But and the other thing I want to say too is we're going to skip over to Erin here in a second. So Sean was panel 2, Tom was panel 1. Erin's going to be panel 4 right before lunch. That's always a great place to be. Everybody's hungry. We do feed you at this event. Chris isn't here yet, so we're going to skip over. But the other thing I want to say is I'm not sure if we can drop these links in a chat right now or not. If not, we'll be sure to put them on YouTube so everybody can access these. But I wanted to say that Sean has been a friend to our Dawn of Autonomy in all of its iterations. Our Dawn of Autonomy podcast, when it was the Dawn of Drones, all the way through today. He's been on the show every single year. So we'll put up his latest link, and Tom as well. Tom was on the Dawn of Autonomy just this past November. Like I said, he'll be on tomorrow. He's got a whole series across this year. So we'll drop those links, as well as the link for Project Ultra, where we introduced that concept back in September. So check those out. If we can't drop them in the chat, we will absolutely drop them in YouTube as well. So we'll go ahead and transition. Thank you, Sean. Really appreciate you. I'm so excited you're part of this event. Sean is an amazing moderator, an amazing host, and we appreciate you and look forward to this panel, to be sure. We're going to go ahead and move over to Erin and panel 4. So if we can go ahead and pop up that image. And again, we're going a little bit out of order here, but this panel, we're calling it State of the States, essentially Volume 2, like Guardian of the Galaxies, Volume 2. We had a great panel last year, and we're just taking it to a whole new level. Erin was on that panel. We'll drop that picture in a second. But this year, she's going to moderate a panel of other states. And we go ahead and let's keep that image up if we can for 1 second. Around the world, real quick, we've got, of course, Erin from North Dakota, as you know. Rob and Grace is from Massachusetts. My buddy Ron Leach, is Jersey. Not a lot going on in Jersey when it comes to drones, huh, guys? Michael Helander is repping Michigan. They're in Detroit. We've got Mark Ganung. He's with the Nevada test site. And then Todd Basil, even though he's an attorney, he's planted in Texas, and he's been very involved in the efforts there, the Key site and other things. And then, of course, we've got Josh Turner. He's a partner of Wiley Ryan. He was on this panel last year. He gives that kind of perspective of everything happening in all these other states as well, like that bird's eye view. So this is your panel, folks, and what a panel it will be. So we'll go ahead and pop that image down. And Erin, so glad to have you back this year. By the way, everybody, Erin brought, and her team brought, a huge North Dakota contingent last year, 20 folks from University of North Dakota, from the test site and the local area. And you've come back, and I think the year before that, you yourself were a scholar, and now you're supporting a scholars program again. Tell us why you keep coming back and bringing your North Dakota group with you, which, by the way, of course, we greatly appreciate.
Of course, yeah. So it's easy to say when you go to all these different conferences, summits, events, symposiums. After a while, you start hearing the same old talks over and over and over again. And so the value that you get from these events is the networking. However, I will say the first time I attended Law Tech Connect as a scholar, I realized that this was different. The panels were very meticulously organized in the aspect that they weren't sales pitchy, right? It wasn't just one entity up there talking about their success. You organized panels in which there was competing viewpoints, differing perspectives, challenging opinions on certain matters, and that led to a really in-depth dialogue that I found of value as someone that's been in this industry, for 15 years now, that it was refreshing to engage in that type of event. So why do I keep coming back? As well, I'm selfish. I enjoy that aspect of it, but also in my previous role, I was a lecturer and a instructor at the University of North Dakota, And I still have a strong, value and passion for teaching and educating and, mentoring people in this industry. And so I saw it as an opportunity to get the students that are in the undergraduate curriculum at the University of North Dakota involved in this event as well, because they'll get a huge opportunity to learn and not just hear, again, a sales pitch. That there's not going to be a biased opinion or a biased, speaker up front, that you're really going to have some dialogue that's not going to just affect them this year, but it's going to set a huge foundation of critical thinking for years to come. So that's why we keep coming back with a huge contingent, because I think it's a great learning experience for those students.
And you mentioned networking, Erin, and you all are sponsors for that event too. Could you elaborate a little bit why you feel like Law Tech Connect is also a good place to network?
Yeah, so as you said, the networking events are critically important, and when you, in particular at AUVSI Exponential as a whole, there's so many different networking opportunities. But then again, in particular, Law Tech Connect brings a very unique audience in a very intimate setting. So it's not 200, 300, 500 people in a room. It's small, it's intimate, and you're going to get to have those very effective and informative conversations in those networking settings. And I think that's important because it's not just a big party, although we in North Dakota love to throw a big party. We've been known to have that in the past. But it does have and does yield those very productive conversations.
Yeah, excellent. And so for everybody out there, the Scholars Program that Erin participated in and now actually supports as a Scholar Program sponsor is something that we started in year one and continues to grow. We've got multiple scholarship programs going simultaneously. Different groups are supporting that. One example is Matrix Space as well. I will tell everybody out there, I do have scholarships still available. If you're listening and you would like to attend Law Tech Connect for free as one of our scholars this year, please reach out to me at dawn@p3techconsulting.com. Here's what you get. You get to come to the workshop, to go to the happy hour Sunday night. You also get a 3-day expo hall pass, all included. And you get a copy of the drone law textbook I authored for the Unmanned Safety Institute, all for free. You can't really beat that. And we're hoping some people will reach out. We've got a handful of these left. They are first come, first serve. So jump in your email, send a note to me, say I saw you on the preview show today, and I really would love to have a scholarship, and let me know why. And then hopefully we can link you up with that. But Erin, I want to go back to you and talk a little bit about your panel. And as you said, you were a panelist last year on this kind of, let's say, State of the States Volume 1 panel. And let's pop that image up because we do have a picture of it. Why are you so excited to moderate this year? By the way, as this picture comes up, not only do you see Erin and Josh Turner, who are on the panel again, James Grimsley, most of you probably know him from Oklahoma. You've got Dr. Kathy Cahill from Alaska, and then we had Dave Whitaker from New Air in New York. So again, a spectacular panel. We're not showing the moderator. Erin, man, it's escaping me. Oh, wasn't it wasn't it Sarah Nilsson was your moderator?
It was not, and I am forgetting
My
his
brain
name
is
as
not working.
well.
I didn't put it in the script and the person isn't featured here, so I apologize. If you are out there listening and I'm forgetting who you are, we had a great moderator. It was a great panel. Anyway, why are you so excited to moderate this year?
Yeah, so the State of the States panel is an interesting topic in general, because it's a topic we get asked about or have to defend as state employees a lot. And it really comes down to, why are states getting involved in moving and innovating, UAS and drones? Isn't that the role of the federal government and other entities? And the answer really is, well, look, states recognize that there are huge economic opportunities that can be seized by leveraging, drones and UAS technologies. And so if there are ways in which states can take a proactive approach in informing the federal government, whether that be the FAA, whether that be other, Department of Commerce or other federal initiatives, we're going to take a lead in doing that. Because the reality is we as a state see the benefits. We see our industries and our markets and our first responders and our public safety all leveraging this really powerful tool to bring the economic diversity to our states. But each state is taking a very different perspective. Here in North Dakota, what we care about, what industries that we see will benefit from UAS is drastically different than last year, Oklahoma or Alaska. We are all aligned in the fact that we see the benefits that drones can bring, but we each have different challenges ahead of us. And so as we look at this panel for this upcoming year, round 2, different states, different perspectives, different aspects that they as a state need to tackle in this. And so we're not, we as a state aren't sitting back, but I think us sharing, what we're working on and how we're trying to foster innovation at the state level and how that interplays with the federal level is always a very, very interesting dialogue.
I love it. I love the healthy competition, let's call it, between the states too. In previous years, we've been able to talk about that drone readiness report by the Mercatus Center. I checked recently. I haven't seen one come out for 2024. I know every year people are debating, is that criteria even valid? Why is I feel like Arkansas was number 1 or something. Everybody's like, what? Arkansas? Who's even talking about Arkansas? How did that even happen? So really interesting. The like you said, Erin, the different perspectives. Really super excited to hear about what's happening in all these different states. And as a practical matter, North Dakota, just your environment alone, right? The climate, the things that, and Tom, we've talked about this on your podcast. You're operating at GrandSKY or at the Northern Plains UAS test site, you're going to experience something completely different than somebody operating out of Miami, Florida, or even in Colorado, honestly. So really, really cool. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much. And looking forward to seeing you again. Looking forward to this awesome panel. By the way, everybody, True Weather Solutions, my buddy Don Bershoff is out there in the chat. Don will be participating in that advanced air mobility panel we'll talk about in our next preview next month. And he said he's looking forward to seeing us all in Houston, as are we, Don. So thank you for jumping in the chat there. We love True Weather and everything. I just talked about weather. I can't help but talk about weather. Almost, you can't talk about operations without talking about weather. All right. It looks like maybe Chris isn't going to make it in time, and that's a real bummer. Holland and Knight, they are our silver sponsors, one of our 2 silver sponsors this year, which we greatly appreciate. So I'm going to really quickly talk about this panel 3 because it's going to be amazing, as are all of these. If we could pop up that image of panel 3. This one is called Future Proofing for Over the Horizon Operational Challenges. Now, Chris is one of the attorneys on this panel, and he's got a really interesting background working with Congress and also with counter UAS issues. And of course, we've got Brett Feddersen from Defense Solutions, be talking about counter UAS. Evan Wolf is a partner at Kroll Mooring. Kroll and Mooring are our other silver sponsors. Evan is an expert in cyber law, cybersecurity and cyber law. Jacob is going to be moderating, also from Kroll. And then we have these 2 amazing folks who have either boots on the ground or tech on the ground in Ukraine. Brian Sarduk, and he is actually with Orca FPV. He's the managing partnership director, not just a consultant there. And Fraser Kitchell is the CEO of KEF Robotics out of Pittsburgh. And last but certainly not least, Evan Frankenberg is the CEO of Ecodyne. They are a radar company that is contributing to airspace awareness and whose technology is dual use and being employed in Ukraine. So what we did last year is and if we can take that image down and pop up this other picture of last year's panel. Last year, we took a real different approach in terms of, let's call it our threats panel. So who you see some folks here. We had an insurance, I think they're Sky Risks. They changed their name to, I forget what, but they used to be Sky Risk Insurance. We had Dark Wolf Solutions on there. True Weather was actually part of this panel when you think of kind of weather threats. Unmanned Safety Institute in terms of what you need to prepare for. And then Tom Dukes is a retired Air Force JAG Brigadier General and working in a tech law firm now. So we'll go ahead and pop that down. It was a very different panel where it was almost like, hey, what anything you can think of could go wrong will go wrong, like that Murphy's Law thing. This year, we're really looking overseas, and we're looking at the threat spectrum that we're seeing on a daily basis on battlefields with an emphasis on the Ukraine. Of course, we've seen things with Hamas and Israel. And the idea is not only can these things happen in the homeland from a homeland security perspective, but these things can actually impact your business. What am I talking about? Things like spoofing, things like jamming. These cyber concerns and other issues. So that's kind of the take the focus we're taking this year. And I'm really excited to have this incredible panel to talk about where we are, not only in terms of the threats that we're seeing, but how they translate to your business and the legal issues that kind of are associated with those that you need to start thinking about now. Especially when you think about cybersecurity, or you think about, hey, I'm going to just employ this counter drone technology. Well, maybe you don't have the authority. So those are all the things we'll be talking about on panel 3, how to future-proof your business, and really looking forward to this one. And it's a shame that Chris couldn't be here, but basically that's all she wrote, everybody. I really appreciate our panelists today, Tom and Sean and Erin, for taking the time to talk a little bit about your panels and what you're most excited about and what other folks can expect. And that's kind of all she wrote. But before we sign off, I would really love to give you each the opportunity to tell everybody how folks can reach you. And stay tuned, everybody. I want to talk a little bit more about what to expect next, and again, how you can register. So Tom, let's start with you. How can folks learn more about GrandSKY, and how can they reach you?
Sure. Well, first, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody and being a part of the panel in May in Houston. Welcome everybody to my home Lone Star State. I'm looking forward to that. And people can reach me at Swoyer, SWOYERT at GrandSKYND.com. That is the best way to get a hold of us.
All right, perfect. And Tom's primary operations are, at GrandSKY or in North Dakota, but he's a Texan, so we're going to be in his backyard. Really excited about that. Sean's like, woohoo, I'm a Texan too. So let's go ahead and get you, Sean. How can people reach you?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So the easiest way is go to EDRCoalition.com, and that's probably the easiest way. Also, if you can remember to spell my name on LinkedIn, I'm there pretty regularly. So look forward to connecting with people and seeing everybody here in H-Town in a little bit.
All right, H-Town, I love it. All right. And last but not least, certainly, Erin, tell them how they can find more information about Northern Plains UAS test site and how they can reach you.
Yeah, the easiest way to definitely reach us is on social. So LinkedIn is where we're most active, including myself. So you're definitely welcome to reach out to me directly there. Or easiest to reach our entire team at info@npuasts.com. So Northern Plains UAS Test Site, npuasts.com.
All right, very, very good. And I want to tell everybody, those that are super organized like me, if you're marking calendars, mark this down now. Part 2 of our Law Tech Connect preview, where we'll be discussing panels 5 to 8, will occur on Tuesday, March 18th at 11 a.m. Eastern. So please join us for that one as well. And of course, in the interim, don't forget to sign up now while early bird prices still apply. I know you might be thinking, oh, it's still February. I've got plenty of time. This thing's in May. Just go ahead and sign up now. Why not? Plan ahead. And when you plan ahead, remember to make your flights on Sunday morning so you can join us for our networking social event on Sunday, May 18th. It'll be from 7 to 9 Central. And it's going to be at the Social HTX, Social Beer Garden HTX. It's a really cool place. We've got the whole entire top floor. It's going to be awesome. So looking forward to seeing you all there. You can meet these incredible folks in person before they hit the stage. And as we close out, I want to make sure we're dropping the registration link and a tile with our QR code. By the way, the social event does have a separate registration. You just really have to put in your email, super easy. So we'll drop that link as well. Sign up not only for Law Tech Connect, but then for that social event as well. All right, folks, that is all she wrote. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Looking forward to seeing y'all in Houston. In the meantime, we are out here.